All right. I feel like I've talked to you guys like 20 times and we hadn't played a game yet, so I don't know what else I can tell you, but go ahead, fire away.
How was it getting Willie Gay back in practice today and having him back?
Yeah, good. Willie's going to be an important part of what we do and brings a lot of energy to the team and the defense, and so it was good to get him back out there. He was limited today, but it was good to get him back out there and working.
Obviously, the Panthers redid their coaching staff, but what do you make of kind of some of the personnel upgrades they made? I think Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, well, look, I think from an offensive standpoint, I thought they kind of beefed up their offensive line. They got probably bigger on the interior than maybe what they've been in prior years. I think they've had two pretty good tackles that have been there the last couple of years. But I think they upgraded the interior of their offensive line at the guard position. They got a little bit more athleticism, at the tight end position. With drafting Sanders, Tommy Trimble's the guy that we've played against. Jordan Matthews, really kind of a converted wide receiver. So I think they've upgraded the athleticism at that position. And then they got a couple of young receivers. One that Leggett was a draft pick this year, and Mingo a draft pick last year. Both of them high picks. Thielen is the ultimate professional in terms of a receiver, and then I think they, added a explosive playmaker in Deontay Johnson. So I think they've done some things offensively to really, upgrade their team and trying to, put some weapons around Bryce Young, help with the protection and the ability to run the football, which always helps out a quarterback. And then, defensively, obviously with the addition of Jadeveon Clowney, that's a big difference. A'Shawn Robinson, a defensive end tackle that we've played against is a good football player. So I think they've done some things, along the defensive line, I think, to upgrade themselves. I think in particular, I think they've done some things to upgrade themselves with Clowney as a pass rusher, and A'Shawn as a run defender.
Will that be a good test then for your teammate offensive line?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Dennis, how difficult is it just the personnel, which you're going to see, but because it is a new head coach with Dave, and you haven't really seen how they operate in a game, how difficult is that?
Yeah, look, I think it's a challenge. Obviously from a defensive standpoint, the defensive staff is there, and so you kind of know what the structure is going to be, and yet they got a couple of new pieces, so we don't know what adjustments they're going to make, or what's going to be different than maybe what we saw last year. Really the same thing offensively. We had a chance to go up against Canales a couple of times last year, and so I think from a schematic standpoint, we have an idea of kind of what what the system is like, and yet with a different quarterback, I don't know, how they're gonna, want to utilize him. I have my thoughts, but again, as it is with everything, when you get into the first game of the season, I just think it's the team that's able to adjust the best that's going to have the most success, because everybody's going to have something that you haven't seen yet, and so I think that'll be the challenge for us is finding out what they're trying to do, how they're trying to attack us in all three phases, and then being able to adjust when we need to.
Are there ever times where you're really surprised by what someone does, or is it usually kind of within their DNA?
Yeah. I don't think there's probably as much really in terms of the plays, how they call the plays, maybe what window dressing they put on the plays. Probably the same thing defensively. The structure's generally going to be the same, and yet I remember we played the Raiders here back in what was it, 15 or 16, I think 16 maybe, and we hadn't shown an odd front at all, and we opened up the game playing an odd front, and I know that messed with them for a little bit, but so every now and then you do see some things that, damn, we weren't ready for that, and yet you have to be able to adjust. You have rules that can take care of whatever you're seeing, but it might be something that you hadn't really worked a lot against, over the course of the practice week.
How do you know when it's time for, like, when you did that, like, waiting that long into the season to kind of do something different? Like, how do you know when it's time to kind of switch stuff up? Is it just matchup based, or?
Yeah, well, look, sometimes early in the year, you've been working on certain things throughout all of OTAs and training camp and don't show it in the preseason so that you can, incorporate a few of those things, to start out the season. And so sometimes you can spring a couple of things on them that, maybe they are not necessarily ready for. It's probably not anything that they haven't seen before. They just hadn't worked on it with you. And so we deal with that on our end. I'm sure they're dealing with that on their end. And that's why, again, I say that the teams that are able to kind of adjust to what they're seeing usually are the teams that have the most success.
Using the Raiders game was, it was so long ago, but why the odd front? Was that something you noticed on film? Or?
No, it was more to just present something new to them and make them have to, get over on the sideline and start drawing some stuff up and trying to figure some things out, and then you kind of go back to what you do. Because your offense is so new, do you anticipate some of that happening Sunday for them? Is that kind of the goal? In terms of?
In terms of just like presenting looks that maybe Carolina's not ready for, or has.
Yeah, that would be. Certainly that would be my hope. You're always hoping that the other team's over there with the tablets out and drawing on the grease board and doing all that stuff. And if they're doing a lot of that, that's probably good for us. And if they're not, it's probably not.
How much is your defense evolved? We talk about offenses all the time evolving in the league. Would you say what you were running 7 years ago to now?
I'd say it's evolved significantly from, when I started calling it back in 2015. But that evolution doesn't take place, over the course of, a year or 2 years. It really kind of takes place over the course of, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and things kind of change. And you can't become stagnant in anything that you do. You have to always be looking to improve. And so there's always things that we're looking at how maybe we can do, some things better. I would say philosophically, nothing's changed. Schematically, a few things.
What do you mean philosophically?
Look, we have a certain way that we believe in playing defense. And so that philosophy hasn't changed. So it's not about what we play, it's about how we play, and so I think that's the key to being successful, is having a belief system and something that you believe in and sticking to that belief and holding everybody accountable to, participating in that way. And when you do that, you usually have some success.
After all these years and games, do you still get excited for an opener?
Yeah, man. This is why we do what we do, is to play these games. So, yeah, absolutely. Coaches, players, all of us, we get excited, we get nervous, we get, we have emotions just like everybody else does, and so, we all, I think everybody in this building is excited about opening up the season.
But it is a little different, isn't it, than when you've been preparing since like July and you finally play? It's different than like in week 3, week 2.
In terms of?
Just in terms of finally really seeing what you have and the anticipation of just been building over a 5-6 week period.
Well, yeah, look, there's a bunch of teams in this league right now that, they have an idea. I'd say everyone has an idea of what type of team, they think they have a chance to be, and then that gets defined over the course of time. And so, so I mean, in that regard, yeah, I'm excited to see exactly what we have, and over the course of time, we'll define what kind of team this is really going to be.
How would you describe your defensive sort of philosophy or system in the way that people, you hope, could see it from watching film over the last 8 years? Like, not giving secrets away about what you want to do, but like.
Well, look, I mean.
A Dennis Allen defense play.
Yeah, well, we're going to play hard. We're going to play fast. We're going to play physical. We're not into the business of gimmies, so we're going to try to challenge everything as much as we can. And we're going to play smart, and I think we've done that. And we're not always perfect. There's sometimes we do a better job of it than others. And that's why, the evaluation process of what you are, whether as a player, as a coach, as a unit, it's not a one-game evaluation. It's what are you over the course of the season, and then what are you over the course of your, career. And so, yeah, I think just the fact that we're gonna play tough, we're gonna play physical, we're gonna play with great effort, and we're gonna challenge everything, and we're gonna play situationally smart defense, and that's what we believe in.
Dennis, when you overhaul the offensive staff, or any staff, like you did this offseason, you spend the whole training camp working on it and refining it. Like, what's the atmosphere like in the building? Like this week, and you're about to roll it out there and
Yeah.
see what it looks like the first time.
Yeah, I liken it to, we're sitting here on Christmas Eve and we're waiting to see what kind of presents we got under the tree, and we'll find out on Sunday. I think our offensive staff has worked extremely hard. I think they've been very demanding, very detail oriented in what they've been asking our guys to execute. I think our guys have bought into that. I think our guys have had some really good practices, and in particular over the course of the last 3 or 4 weeks. And so I think we're all excited to, see what kind of presents are under the tree. All right, guys, thanks.
Locker room's open.